Right, we're delighted to welcome Toyota Ambassador and Paralympian Nicole Turner to the show. Toyota is an official partner to Paralympics Ireland and worldwide mobility partner to the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And with just under 100 days to go to the Paralympic Games, Toyota's Start Your Impossible campaign celebrates the very best of human performance and can be checked out on toyota.ie. Now, Nicole, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. You've had a fairly sensational couple of weeks at the European Championships.
I have, yeah, to be honest. It's just, well, for me, like, Europeans was the first time since 2019 that I actually stood up on a block against my international competitors. So to even get to Europeans and get a bit of competing was an absolute bonus for me. But then to come home with a few medals, that was the icing on the cake.
So that must have been unbelievably exciting to get to that stage. What was it like on the blocks the first time? Like the fear of a false start, I presume, is pretty overwhelming. But how do you manage the excitement and the joy, and then also, this is actually serious competition as well?
Oh, absolutely, there was. And especially for me, Europeans, thankfully, because I've already qualified for Tokyo, the pressure's off me now, so I'm not chasing times down, and the big focus is on Tokyo. So Europeans was just literally about getting the feel of being back racing again internationally against other nations. So I think the nerves didn't really get to me until my main event, but like the first few days of the week, I just really enjoyed myself. I couldn't wait to stand up each time and get a bit of racing under my belt.
Where were the Europeans on?
They were in Madeira, so they were in an island off Portugal.
And that whole kind of travel, like what has your lockdown been like as an elite athlete? You've kind of been allowed to do a bit more than most people, but was that just the first time that you'd actually been out of the country and all that whole time as well?
It's the second. So in lockdown, the very first lockdown, we stopped swimming. When Tokyo got called off, we were out of the water for 2.5 months. That's the longest we've ever been out of the water. But then as things started getting back to normal, we were having like competitions in the NAC for like Olympic and Paralympic athletes. But then things got a bit better, and then we went on a training camp to Fuerteventura at the end of March this year, and that was the very first time we'd been out of the country since September 2019. And then we came home for 4 weeks, and then we travelled it to Europeans.
What's swimming like after a 2.5-month break?
It's not very nice. I say that though, because see, we did have 2.5 months break, but most of us switched up our sports. So most of us actually switched up cycling for swimming. So we were still doing, and I'm fortunate enough that I could still do my gym sessions at home. So we were still doing that bit to tick us over. And then when we did enter the water again, it was a nice surprise that it was nothing like we'd expected, but still we had lost a good bit. So, but it was like, I'm the type of person that I love swimming, don't get me wrong, but like some days I'll be like, oh, I'd love a day off. Whereas when it was taken away from me, I just couldn't wait to get back into it.
So has there been like a newfound passion almost for the sport since you've come back?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It did show me the love I have for it, definitely.
You're from Portarlington, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
So it's actually not too bad to get up and down to the National Aquatic Centre on the sports campus. I say that obviously, but it's also not that close.
Oh no! Well, I mean, Toyota make it that bit easier and give me a free car. But no, it's not. And thankfully, I've said this before. My mum doesn't work. My mum's a full-time housewife, and she takes me swimming up and down to swimming every day. So it's about, like, thankfully now that we're still in a bit of lockdown, there's not that much traffic on the road, so we'd get there in under an hour. And then on a bad day, it'd be like an hour and 10, but it doesn't bother me at all, to be honest.
So your mum obviously is very committed to your swimming career as well, because as far as I know, she wouldn't have been even allowed in to watch the sessions at various stages.
No, she's still not actually. So the pool is still closed, and it's closed to everyone except swimmers and coaches. So my mum, thankfully with the campus, she walks around the campus for half the time and then she'd chill in the car. But yeah, she does have a lot of patience for me and sits in the car while I train for 2.5 hours every day.
It must be pretty sweet to have that support network and to know that when you're in the pool, you're representing your family and you're representing Port Arlington and therefore Laois, and then as you go to the Europeans, you're representing the whole country as well. What's that feeling like?
Oh, it's a huge honour. Like, the amount of people, like, I think that's what some people might not realise when you do step up on a block or even step up on a podium. The amount of work that goes into that is like, nobody sees the amount of work. Like, yeah, they might think a bit of training here and there, but the amount of support staff that you have, like, as I said, my brothers are so understanding that my parents literally work around me the whole time. So it's just, everyone plays a big part in it.
And I presume that gives you a lot of confidence then as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, especially these Europeans, like, it did. Europeans, for me, we have a local, like, national competition in the middle of June, but the Europeans is the final international now until Tokyo. So going in and swimming the way I swam, it did give me a huge confidence boost going into Tokyo.
The other thing that I just wanted to ask you about was obviously these Olympics were supposed to be last year and this year, but they've come in the middle of an educational cycle for you. You were due to do the leaving, I think, last year. Was that right?
So what I did was, so the way I just said, I have an hour and 10 commute every day. I moved up to the NAC in the middle of second year, and my normal school day would have ran from 9 to 4. And if I would have finished school at 4 o'clock, I wouldn't have made it up to the NAC for 5. So from second year up until the end of transition year, my school agreed that I could miss the last class of the day, so I'd finish 40 minutes earlier than everyone else. But then at the end of transition year, when I was going into 5th year, they just said it wouldn't really be possible. And to be honest, I thought about it, even studying wise and doing swimming, it would have been full on for me even more. So that's when I decided to take a year out, unknown that it would have been 2 years out of school and focus on my swimming.
And so you're going back at the end of the Olympics next year into do Leaving Cert? Is that the plan?
I'm not sure if I'm going to go do it in the school, but I do plan on doing some sort of Leaving Cert at some point, definitely.
And with that time out, obviously, again, the focus day in, day out is on swimming. How do you make sure that your mind is continuing to grow and that you don't become too obsessed with the swimming?
Yeah, I know.
To get a bit of balance.
Yeah, there is a balance, and to be honest, not so much now, but I did try, like, a thing that I didn't realise when I did take the year out, I didn't realise how much time I'd see my friends. We were in school, we were doing work, but I'd see a good few people every single day. Whereas when that was taken away from me, it only actually hit me, like, God, the impact they had. So I do try and see my friends once a week, but to be honest, even at the minute, it's quite nice because we train 12 to 2 bang in the middle of the day. So I'd leave my house around 10:15, and I wouldn't be back until about 3:30, 4:45. So it does take a nice chunk of my day. It does occupy me for a nice chunk of my day, but then I do have to try and not just be a lazy bones and sit in my room all day.
I presume warm weather training in different locations around Europe helps to take the mind off the stress of swimming as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, even swimming in the sun, like, we went to Fuerteventura, as I said, at the end of March, and it was the training was, like, when we do go on training camps, the training does up and we do quite a lot of sessions, but to be in the sun, it made it so much better.
So obviously, having done so well with a couple of bronze and a couple of silver at the European Championships, obviously the Olympics is another step up as well, as swimmers from all around the world come into it. What's the level of competition? What's the difference between Euros and the Olympics in your head, and how competitive do you expect to be when you get to Tokyo?
To be honest, Europeans at the Paralympic Games is a lot different to a normal Europeans as well, because it's very early in the season. It's not your peak performance. And also because, especially this year, because of coronavirus, the only people went if they needed to go. So the only people, like, we sent a team because we needed qualification and we needed a thing called classification. So that's the only reason I went. But so there wasn't that many, like, even European nations, there wasn't that many swimmers there. But the games and even the World Championships, it's a whole new level. Because even some people come onto the scene, as I said last year, that Chinese girl who broke the world record in the 50 fly, we knew nothing about her until she started swimming that week. So I just think you can't really take it for granted that you're definitely, like, I don't think you can take anything for granted, but you can't take for granted being like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to win a medal. Like, you really have to have the fight and desire that you want to win the medal, and hopefully if you swim your best ever, you will.
Well, listen, we wish you the very best of luck over the next 100 days. Incredibly exciting time for you and for your family, as I said, for Port Arlington, and hopefully we'll all be cheering you on in Tokyo if and when that happens. Nicole, great to have you with us this morning. Thanks a million.
Thank you.